Tonight, Herb Denenberg starts a special 5-part report on toxic time bombs with a look at the situation and how one man is determined to fight back.
We love our children, but what are we doing to them? They are among the most susceptible to toxic chemicals. But here at a school in Collegeville, some teachers bring in bottled water while the children drink water with trace amounts of the dangerous chemical TCE. Here in Marcus Hook, mothers complain that the chemical odors make their children sick and hyperactive. The Bridesburg section of Philadelphia. Children play and live and go to school in a chemical wonderland. PCBs in the nearby ground and a catalog of chemicals in the air. And a Philadelphia kindergarten with everything, including asbestos.
Philadelphia is a chemical toxic waste sink, and the people should not stand for it, and they should force their elected officials and police powers to apply a little law to the crime in the suites. The negligence, the callousness that these corporations are displaying to people who are innocent, who don't know what kind of chemicals they're being exposed to. It's just that they happen to live in Philadelphia.
Who will speak for those who cannot protect themselves? Who will defend the defenseless? Are the kids going to have to clean the mess up themselves? We went to the top where the buck is supposed to stop. Mr. President, we've been doing a story on toxic chemicals in this area. Yeah. One theme emerges. The people of Collegeville, Pennsylvania, for example, whose wells have been poisoned by the chemical TCE, say federal officials are not helpful and have to be badgered and pressured and beaten into taking action. Why can't your agencies, such as the EPA and others, convince these people that the federal government is able and willing to help?
My own belief is that the EPA is a very dedicated and able agency that's made tremendous strides forward in controlling the toxic material that you've mentioned.
Mr. President, the EPA isn't doing its job, so who will fight the battle against toxic chemicals? If an average guy sits back and says, government's going to protect me, there's nothing to worry about, what's going to happen to these people?
Government won't protect them, and there'll be a lot to worry about. The government will only work if citizens make government work.
Our conclusion, as God helps those who help themselves, so government only helps those who help themselves. Here's the answer to the toxic time bomb, pollution and all the rest. That slogan, we are the people, and people like Joe Hooker, who's actually doing something about pollution and the toxic time bomb. Joe Hooker, age 28, was born and raised in Marcus Hook. Didn't even graduate from high school, but he's an effective full-time citizen crusader against toxic chemical pollution.
Don't stand around with your head in the ground, waiting for your answer to come. Show you care, hold your head in the air, and you won't appear to be so dumb.
Joe Hooker doesn't stand around with his head in the ground. He works nights at a low-paid seated job and uses his meager income to pay rent on his storefront headquarters. There he carries on a full-time, daytime struggle, heading the organization he put together called We Are the People, leading the citizens of Marcus Hook in the fight against the misuse of toxic chemicals.
I used to be on the Air Pollution Control Board in the township, and they refused to reappoint me because I was bringing these stories of pollution out to the news media and the government. And they felt very uneasy they said my crusading style, so they wouldn't reappoint me. So
Joe Hooker petitions, complains, organizes, and tries to bring the victims together.
I'm starting to get some help from the citizens. We've started an environmental watchdog system where the people call the state and the headquarters to complain about pollution.
Joe Hooker has many notches on his anti-pollution rifle. He helped publicize the Reed Boyd farm of Sun Oil, a hazardous waste dump in the midst of Marcus Hook, recognized by government agencies to be a serious problem in 1970, but 10 years later, still under endless investigations.
The agencies are very inefficient. They lack money, they lack manpower. This could be the problem. Right now we started a petition. We're petitioning the Department of Environmental Resources to put a full-time inspector in the Marcus Hook area here. Our argument is it's like not having a police officer in a town, there's a lot of law breaking going on, and that's what's going on here. There's not an environmental inspector on the scene, and there's a lot of law breaking going on, and we are suffering with our health and our lives.
Elected officials will only stand up to the chemical and oil and other companies flooding the human environment in Philadelphia with these deadly chemicals if people in the neighborhoods, labor groups, consumer, environmental groups, minority groups say, we not only don't want violence in the streets, we don't want violence in the air, in our water, the kind of violence that can affect our children's health and their children's health for many years to come.
Tomorrow we'll talk about one of the most frightening of the toxic time bombs, PCBs. They are loose in the environment and are even a part of us. 90% of all Americans have PCBs in their fatty tissues, and we'll show you how PCBs are still leaking into our environment. Larry?
You know, don't go away. Herb is usually, I guess it's an understatement to say he's a very intense person whenever he goes after a story, but I've never seen you more turned on to something than this. You've worked around the clock on this the last several weeks. Any special reason?
I think this is the most important and frightening story I've ever done. I'm really frightened by this one myself.
Okay, we'll look forward to the rest of the week. Up next, urban and rural communities. Many people have found out, shockingly, that their lives are being threatened by toxic time bombs. Tonight, Herb Denenberg starts a special 5-part report on toxic time bombs with a look at the situation and how one man is determined to fight back.